It's not just Florida incinerators that are the problem. There are 86 active incinerators nationwide. California still has 2, and these are harming the environment across the nation. I just added up the numbers from Florida, but we burn 58 billion pounds of trash throughout the United States. And so we desperately need to start shutting those down across the United States to protect the health everywhere of people, especially those in low-income neighborhoods, which are usually where the incinerators are located. So this is creating an environmental justice issue for low-income and minority populations. And unfortunately, we're just passing off these problems.
Forces guided ideas for life, polluting habits disguises rights. Free market problems are freely made. Red light Roxanne freely paid. Conflicts of energy and egos lead on a daily spending and killing spree. Whoa.
What's going on, guys? It's Bryan from Plastic Symptoms, sitting here with Sarah from Sciencing with Sarah, and we were just discussing the incinerators and a particular bill being passed in the state of Florida, or that was just passed, and that we need vetoed by DeSantis ASAP. So these incinerators, what they're trying to do is create energy from our trash and or create a space for this trash because our landfills are getting clogged up. So what better way to get rid of something than to burn it, you might think, or think twice about that, because Sarah has the numbers here for us and we're going to dive into that. So Sarah, you are actually a marine biologist, endocrinologist, and you study a lot of the effects that come from things that are potentially linked to incinerators. What can you tell us about those effects, and what can you tell us about what might happen to the trash that gets burned in these incinerators?
So unfortunately, a lot of the trash that we burn is plastic based, and that's why we can't really do much with it, and it's filling up our landfills. And unfortunately, when you burn plastic, you release a ton of stuff into the atmosphere. Things like dioxins, mercury, and something called polychlorinated biphenyls, or PCBs. Unfortunately, most of these come with a lot of side effects as they build up in our environments, and eventually they start to build up in the food chain, because a lot of these will build up in fatty tissues of animals, and then we eat the animals, and then they build up inside of our fatty tissues, and then we get the same effects. So for example, mercury, that one is a neurological toxin. So it just goes after your neurons, which make up your nervous system, your brain, spinal cord. And this is basically your communication superhighway in your body. It's how your brain talks to all of its different body parts. It gathers information about the surroundings.
So mercury is a direct pollutant from incinerators?
Yes. When you burn plastic, you release mercury, unfortunately. So are dioxins and PCBs. Those other two go after things like reproduction. So we're going to start to see more and more people have trouble conceiving. Also, fetal development is going to be affected. We might see an increase in miscarriages, or if those fetuses do make it to term, we might start to see more health effects of the fetus, like developmental delays, both physical and neurological as well. So we've got a lot of stuff.
And this is for humans and animals, or is this just humans? It's just animals?
So far, most of these studies are done on vertebrate species, so animals. But when you see these effects in smaller animals, you can almost guess that you'll see these same effects in larger animals like us. We just take more of the concentration before those effects are seen. So it takes us a little while.
Wow. So what kind of numbers? So if an incinerator is taking in just, I don't know, Florida can't be that big of a state. I mean, I know we're a pretty big state, but we're not the biggest state. We're not like California big. How much can we be burning per year?
Well, I did it per day, actually, and you're going to be surprised. From all of the incinerators that Florida owns, the state is burning 38 million pounds of trash per day.
That's per day?
That's per day.
38 million pounds of trash per day.
Yep.
Burned.
Yes.
And Florida only burns a small percentage of their trash.
Yeah. So imagine how much more is filling up landfills, which still isn't great, but at least that isn't all being burned and transformed into gases that make their way into our atmosphere and then eventually our oceans.
So when you burn something, it creates ash.
It creates ash, which is another solid waste, and it also creates gases because in the law of sciences, you cannot create matter, you cannot destroy matter, you can just transform it. So
Wow.
you take a plastic bag and you burn it, some of that plastic is going to be released as chemicals in their gaseous state. And then the rest of it's going to turn into a toxic ash, which we cannot use for anything else. And that creates another disposal problem for us because eventually, well, what are we going to do with all of that ash? So their estimates are for every 100 tons burned, you create 30 tons just in toxic ash.
Wow.
And if we want to play with some numbers, I was looking into the EPA because a lot of the incinerators' arguments are, well, yeah, we burn this stuff, but we collect the ash.
Right.
And I was actually looking at the EPA's website and they said, well, yeah, our ash collection rates are great. Most places nowadays with updated equipment capture 99% of their ash. And that sounds super impressive, right?
The ash that escapes, how much is actually escaping?
So Florida is allowing 5,761 tons of ash per day to escape, which equates to 11,523,600 pounds of ash per day. And if we add up all of that into a year, you're looking at 42,061,140 million pounds of ash into the atmosphere.
Holy cow. And those are, that's all those PCBAs, the
PCBs.
PCBs.
Mercury, yeah, there's mercury in that. There's also dioxins.
I'm just a surfer that picks up plastic on the beach, that finds this stuff. And you're the scientist who runs these numbers, that understands what's going on with the environmental effect that these things have and these pollutants have on the body and biology. And
yeah,
I understand that it is creeping up on my surf spots and it's making it really hard for me to enjoy what I remember to be the most beautiful state. Until I went to California, that was, but Florida is one of the most beautiful states, and it's just become so trash and we can't escape it. And everywhere we go, we're just offered more and more of these pollutants, and it's frustrating. So instead of creating sustainable solutions for our small businesses and corporations, and or tax incentives to help unclog the landfills for compostable and or sorting mechanisms for recycling and creating better systems for that, we would just prefer, I guess, is what I'm understanding from our delegates, from our elected officials that run our state here, that they would rather pollute and push out mercury, carcinogens, phthalates, polymers, all sorts of chemicals into the environment than to look at this as a problem head on and decide, hey, you know what? We need to start incentivizing people to stop using this stuff because we have no way out.
Exactly. It's true that we're running out of space in our landfills. And right now, burning it seems great because, oh, well, that solves the problem in the short term. Yay, no more stuff in our landfills. And we don't really see what's going into the atmosphere. Like, most people don't even know these numbers exist. 42 million pounds of ash into your atmosphere every year. But if you went up to the average person and said, well, do you know this is going on? They don't see it. What they do see are the landfills, and that's what they don't want. And unfortunately, landfills and incineration are both not long-term solutions for this problem. We definitely need to start cutting our use of plastics and sorting our trash better. Even if we just sort it better and move compostables into their own section and recycling into another section, we can still reduce landfill space that way without burning anything.
Yeah, point taken. Well, something everyone can do at home that's viewing this or on the go, we will have links set up so that you can go and request that if you are in the state of Florida, you can request that Governor DeSantis veto Bill 1764, and that will ensure that your voice is heard, and we will hopefully make the decision to represent the community of Florida. And then aside from that, aside from Bill 1764, which everybody should please click the link and go access your ability to submit a letter to Governor DeSantis and request that he veto Bill 1764. We hopefully have some more plastic collabs to come at you. This is just the beginning of a really cool project that Sarah and I are working on. And if you like this information being presented to you by Sarah and myself, and if you want us to keep you up to date, please like, subscribe, and comment. And we really enjoy to interact with you guys online. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. And anything else you want to add in, Sarah, before we go?
Yeah, on a quick note, if anybody not from Florida is listening in, it's not just Florida incinerators that are the problem. There are 86 active incinerators nationwide. California still has 2, and these are harming the environment across the nation. I just added up the numbers from Florida, but we burn 58 billion pounds of trash throughout the United States. And so we desperately need to start shutting those down across the United States to protect the health everywhere of people, especially those in low-income neighborhoods, which are usually where the incinerators are located. So this is creating an environmental justice issue for low income and minority populations. And unfortunately, we're just passing off these problems.
Yeah, nobody wants to build, like you had said before, a $6 million home next to an incinerator.
Yeah.
And who's going to want to enjoy the beach if there's no fish or life to enjoy inside of the ocean? So we are creating these issues that are only going to trap us in a box. So I really desperately hope that people are listening, paying attention, and they realize that their voice is powerful.
Matters. So start talking to your elected representatives about these issues because they're important and we're running out of time.
Guess we're out of time here too.
Until next time.
See you guys on the other side.
Single-use plastic lasts an eternity. Tell me what you see when you look at me. Do you wanna be phasing out for eternity? See eternity. Plastics in the sea. Single-use plastic lasts an eternity. All right, head up, Ariel. Let's go surfing.